Yeah. So yeah, Ndzwana, man, it's been a while. We spoke a while back, talking on various economic matters at the time, Sasiteta, and from time to time, even though we had been talking and discussing the economy of the country. I mean, it's a given. It's the way it is at the moment. The push for this, basic income grant is happening, and we've now seen the extension year 350 to now March next year again. So, but besides that, we know that this has been a bubbling under a topic that has been happening for quite some time. So you decide to write about it, and the title you're saying there's logic, in the basic income grant. Talk to us. What prompted you firstly to write this?
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for having us.
Yeah.
On your show today. I'm with my colleague Ndzwana is here. The reason why I wrote in fact, the article I first wrote it mid last year.
Yes.
And for a presentation at the Parliamentary Budget Office. It was titled something else, like B.I.G, which is Basic Income Grant at the time. And so fast forward, the talk around it, as you have said in your opening, gained a lot of momentum. It's one of the biggest topics in the country right now,
sure.
More especially before the State of the Nation address. So it was that big, and a lot of people have been doing research on it, on the media. People have been talking about it. So colleagues, they decided that Ndzwana, who heads part of the webinars that takes place at the ECSECC, that can this be part of a discussion point, and there was support from other colleagues as well. So we had a webinar on it, still way before the president's speech. And then some media institutions like Daily Dispatch and others felt an interest to feature some of the thought process we carry out in the webinar. And obviously the article was then submitted to them. So yeah, pretty much we did a lot of interviews on it. I would say.
I think, I mean, this week has been very busy for you in terms of the interviews that we've had to do. And of course, I mean, what was the purpose of you guys starting this debate? I mean, we know that, I think in the greater scheme of things, a lot of people would know that Black Search has been pushing for this.
Sure.
And it's now gaining momentum. Of course, a lot of people now are beginning to look at this seriously. Is it because of the state of the economy now? And I know that your article alludes to that. Please elaborate a little bit for people who didn't have the opportunity to read this.
I think COVID-19 ifigile and opened a lot of eyes. For many people, for government as well, because COVID, because it's even called, and by the way, for clarity, abantu aba understand bana kune SRD, which is the social relief distress, kune B.I.G, which is basic income grant. So abantu bangazi into okubana what is it, I think let's clarify.
Let's go in there.
This one is called Special COVID SRD grant, which is the social distress. It's special just for COVID. It's given to anyone who's unemployed. If you mana any grant, you're not eligible for it. Only unemployed people. And then basic income grant, is something that has always been in the talk in the country. There is no law to it that we can say we've got this law that propels government unikeza abantu isixhaso. No. So at a greater extent, I think it's okay to use those words interchangeably. Because they more or less means the same thing in terms of in practice. Now, what pushed us to talk about it, to write about it, like you have said, the country is not in a good state, and that has been the case for a very long time. I mean, today in the country, you've got plus minus 10 million people unemployed, right? And this country has only managed to create not more than 9 million jobs from 1994 to now, right? There's plus minus 15 million people employed in this country, and the private sector is the biggest employer, so on and so forth. So if you've got such a high employment rate, and it has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 as well, a lot of informal businesses, they've shut down, others for good. Social unrest that we've seen in KZN and Gauteng. So those are one of the causal factors that the country sees fit that people need to be met halfway. Into a basic income grant ayiqali apha eSouth Africa. So unfortunately, the South African government yenza into evele yalala yavuka yayenza. I am saying so because there has been a lot of work that has been done in terms of research work being done on social support in the country. A report which I allude to in the article was done in 2002. First report that was supporting a comprehensive social support for people abangathathi ntweni. But that work has stalled waphinde waresuscitatewa eNEDLAC ngo-2014. Then thereafter kwabakho i-report after imenko yaseNEDLAC yahlala. iNEDLAC is the National Economic Development Council and Labour Council. Constituencies from Labour.
You got Labour, business and so on.
So that process was taken there for discussion and consensus amongst the constituencies that are there. And we believe that they did take out went up on tender to find a service provider to check about the feasibility of having the B.I.G, amongst other things that we're looking at there. This is now this is towards 2018-19. And then a report was taken out. I think they got Deloitte to check it out. How much would it cost, which is around about 17 billion, between 17 billion if we keep it at 350, or above 500 billion if it is increased to above 1,200 rand per month for umuntu ongasebenziyo. They are not the only ones who have done research in it. There are a lot of studies that were commissioned. The National Treasury did, Institute for Economic Justice did some work on this. Social Development, NOSASA, did some work on this with the panel of experts, which sparked a lot of discussion towards the end of last year. So it is there because I think it should be there. COVID or not. COVID is you add a lot of weight in it so that it can move with speed and faster.
Now, look, surely part of the problems, I mean, you would have heard and also listening to the president's speech, we know that the economy has stagnated for some time, and the government had just, underhandedly, we heard that they borrowed, I think, about 11 billion, which also came out via media and stuff like that. And so you begin to also look at the fact that the president says private sector, which is a valid sort of reality, create, but the government has to create a conducive environment for that. And a couple of people had been appointed and so on and so on. It was a boring, long sort of SONA. But where I want to get to is the idea of creating jobs. Is this idea, as far as government is concerned, at a dead end versus now, and looking at this as a way of trying to meet where the government cannot be, cannot go in terms of job creation? Because once you start going this direction, we know what happens. That there's more money coming out of this of the system and going to people who are not working, and the people who are going to be benefiting in this situation, I said to these ladies, again, big business, because these people are going to use this money. Everyone will be waiting for this money that is coming from the government. So how do we deal with that? Are we at a space where we actually have run out of ideas and that this is the only way to go?
That's a tough one. Let's first start with the first part. With the SONA. I listened to it, downloaded it, read it, and I wouldn't ask you to compare SONAs on what the president says or promises people. The last year one, the year before that, on things job, maybe youth development. If you follow the contributions or the delivery by the president and what we had in this one, I think it symbolizes that there is quite a bigger problem.
Yeah.
I support 100% when the president said private sector must drive jobs type of thing. It should be like that. Government is an enabler. But if we are asking private sector to create jobs, then the public sector must also play their own role of an enabling.
Yeah, sure.
And we must know how they should be enabling. But which was very interesting, which I appreciated from the president's speech, was when he was talking what I would call the enabling environment or enabling policies for businesses.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that were introduced in that SONA, like the cutting the red tape.
Yes.
For small business to practice. There was also reforms for some loaning schemes for small businesses and so on and so forth, as you can remember. I take that as an enabling environment that the public sector can play. And we must remember that the composition of our government or the state is that government has got, what is this? Competency of developing policies.
Yes.
No one else. I mean, private sector can have so much money, can create jobs, but the policy starts and rests with the government.
Yes.
So it is appreciated if you then see the president acknowledging that and saying that we will be doing the following areas to enable better businesses so that jobs can be created. I think that was a very big tick for me. Now, on the issues of whether the money is, where is it going to, and who is the ultimate beneficiary of that 350? Well, you are right. The report by the panel of experts, the one that was commissioned by Social Development and SASA, they did find out that on the surveys they did that over 90% of that money is spent on buying food. Right? I want you to think about on buying food.
Food, yes.
Now, whose food are they buying? You see, where ultimately that is this money goes to, which is what is your point exactly. So until we intercept the flow of that money, at least money must change hands in the province at least 5 times. If money changes hands like 3 times, boom, until we are at a situation where we care that much about the destination of those monies. Government, by the way, does care, but I don't think in that caring is doing enough job to follow up, because for you to benefit in a particular tender, you must be transformed in this way. Certificate yako,
yeah, sure.
Then you can be trusted. It is in caring about the destination of the money, but I feel that is not enough at all. Because whose food are they buying? I think we need to concern ourselves about that. Then let's link it to the 350 and the songs that people were singing, with whether are they doing justice or not in what government is trying to do. I know the song, I've listened to it, but I don't know how I'm understanding the song. People can be saying, oh, this government likes people who are not working, and, and as a result, they just give them 350.
Yeah, sure.
But if you zoom into it, the government is caring about people, right? And what we need to be doing is to conscientize people to find out the ways of using the money.
Yeah.
We're not the only country that has done such things. I mean, there are countries that are welfare states, like your Norways, your Finland, and other countries. They've got conditionalities. They give you money. I've been screaming conditionalities. I still have gonna do more research in it. On I'm saying, I find by injury. You talk about the money that the country got as a loan from the IMF.
Yeah.
Before we knew Mali, as you know, I think South Africa is okay, so on condition that in structural reforms as a country, be transformative, have long-term plans, and so on and so forth. We need money. Government which is what it was costing us at B.I.G. We had 3.3 billion. We negate abantu with no conditionalities. So it depends how you look at it. I'm an advocate for it, but I'm saying let's do much work on it so that we can get a lot of returns out of it. What could be those returns? Why are we not identifying black owned companies and firms and cooperatives, and we say these 350 must be spent there. In fact, you don't give them money, give them vouchers. They must now use those vouchers to either buy their basic needs, the transportation, which is where a lot of money is spent, as well as education. Why or not there? In no way they don't play with you. There are a lot of unemployment benefits there, but others, there are health benefits that you get, school benefits, transportation benefits, but they say for you to benefit, you must be an active citizen. You must also participate in the elections. That's very interesting. So you don't get it if you don't vote. Those are amongst the conditionalities that we can think through. Government can carry them forward.
I mean, that's quite interesting. You spoke, you want to ask something?
I just found the last bit quite interesting. How would they monitor that you are participating in voting?
Yes, idea.
Okay, in that manner.
Yes, and they know when you have voted or not.
Okay. No, it's digital.
Yes, scan.
Yes, there's a way we can.
There is a way. I mean, surely they can work together with the IEC, because IEC does have a register of voters and people that have voted. I mean, that's why we know out of the registered 18 million voters, only 11 voted, So,
And another follow-up, in the Eastern Cape, for example, if you want the money to be circulating within the Eastern Cape, do we have proper structured cooperatives that can provide other services? Because I'm not well vested in the cooperatives that are operating within the Eastern Cape. But now for the money to stay within the province, for example, do we have those structures in place for that environment to be conducive?
And Ndzwana, also let me add this question. Unozuko Kabingwa is saying Ndzwana must interrogate. In fact, the first one she said, I think there's a difference between umahlalela and an unemployed person. And then Ndzwana must interrogate the meaning of the song through the lens of those who say, let's encourage the unemployed to curb discouraged work seekers. So that's what Nozuko is saying.
Well, like I said, we ought to have a program, one way or the other, where we conscientize people and influence their buying choices. And in so doing, these are our people at the end of the day, right? And they need support. And most of them, they are discouraged, they are economically inactive because they are discouraged job seekers. The last time I checked, on young people alone, it was plus minus 200 and something thousand at the time. I'm sure that number is increased.
I mean, the Eastern Cape is actually the second highest, I think, or if not the highest, second highest, the Eastern Cape in the unemployed states.
Yes, so there's plus minus 1.5 million, 1.5 million people that are unemployed in this province. So you can quantify the amount that comes because that is came because of the B.I.G. But just to on her point, they are discouraged job seekers. Others are economically inactive. So those could be there are those who are economically inactive by choice. Those are saying, "Oh, mashlale like I am." But there are job seekers, which is what she's referring to, which I agree, right? But they are also benefiting in that money as well. I agree that there is obviously a distinction between that separates those two categories of people. On your point earlier about sound cooperatives that can be mainstreamed into some economic activities. But before we get to that point, I'm also a believer. One of the things I put in one article that at the stage and at the rate in which provinces are going, I mean, the Eastern Cape always comes last or second last, whereas or states, and that thing is unacceptable. This province was never inherently poor as it is now, if you follow the history of the Eastern Cape. Now, and we are at a point where, when we think policies now, we are at a point of not allowing other people to be excessively rich, whilst others are excessively poor. we are at the point of not allowing other provinces to be excessively rich at the expense of other provinces and its people. It is. I'm saying we must go to a point where we must encourage intra-provincial trade, but there are things that we can do within the province. I mean, why Sizoyo Tenga? If bananas, maybe we can't plant bananas in the province. Fine, we can go to KZN and flip banana. You know what I'm saying? But don't tell me that bottled water, we must get Valpri from Gauteng and what is that one? The other one from KZN, bottled water.
Aquil,
which is from and this province does not spend on water that is bottled outside the province, and have cooperatives, regional based or district based cooperatives that are in a structure where there's warehousing for water, there is bottling for it, there's a recycling area for it in all districts, municipalities. Then you get those to support every government institution, whether it's a hospital, it's a school, or government departments as we know them. That thing is not rocket science, but it needs a policy that is going to support it. As small as water, there's many other examples we can talk about.
Yeah.
Do we have cooperatives which can jump into that? The question that we also need to bother ourselves with is why are we not having them? How can we get to that state of preparedness and readiness about cooperatives? Because cooperatives in many countries like Kenya, they are very instrumental in minor regional community economic activity that is taking place in communities.
Yeah.
I haven't checked the state of our cooperatives, but I don't think it's something that cannot be done if we are really willing, because we're at a state obasithathe kwaba banezinto siqhekezela aba bangenanto khona ukuze abantu batye bonke singahle uqhotyela izandla abantu.
You know, just to close it off from my side, one thing that actually, I don't know how to put it politely, that hurts.
Sure.
The Magwati, because Imagwati is one of those that I would say was a good concept, but somehow it has broken down. I know I wouldn't say irretrievably, but you know, such things whereby we can buy our own stock.
Sure.
You know, like how do you even try and revive that to be a sustainable business? Because I haven't read anything that is like positive. You'd hear that, oh, they are reviving or they're rebranding, they're relaunching, but you hardly see Imagwati in the supposedly, you know, the normal retail places.
Sure.
You know, you'll only see it, I think I've seen it for Sparks, if I'm not, you know, but you don't see it in the other retail businesses. I mean, they could even put it Kwaulwets for that matter, if if people were active, like the people behind the scenes were active and passionate about it.
Well, on the Magwati, I believe the government is doing quite a good job to the reports I've gathered lately. As you have said, I think it's a very big positive news that Uibonile, Kwasparks, wherever, that's big for buy the package or for local consumption. I know it's not only for local consumption, it's other, there is distribution of it beyond the province. So there is progress in it, but you speak about it not being in many retailers. Well, shelf space, it's not that easy, right? Because it's very much contested. And it's about that, by the way. To see a local brand in a shelf space, whether it's a Spa, ShopRite, all these other places where you don't find it. It's a very much contested space to get your stuff in your Igweze shelf spaces and Woolworths. They've got others very serious and stringent requirements for you to get in there. Others, they barely buy anything from here, yet they're servicing our communities. For me, that's unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? So it ought to be an option. We must know about it. When it comes to popularizing it, making it a household item and a grocery list every month, I think we need to get to that point. If we can get to that point where we know that when you buy other things, make sure this is a Magwa tea. It's just 300 kilometers away from I am. You know someone that works there. You own that thing. Just last example, in South Korea, their farms, the way they're supporting each other is just amazing. Provinces and provinces. I remember this one time they were planting rice and they had abundance of it. And they couldn't do anything because one, there's a lot of in processing. Then young guys were given assignment on how best to go about it, and a lot of other products came out of it. That's why you've got the rice cakes and other things. Those were just way of not taking stuff into wastage.
Yeah, sure.
And if you've got a restaurant here, you sell all the products that are in and around you, whether you know a person or you don't know. To do that is a culture. Yeah. It's a culture that needs to be instilled, and to us, it needs to be supported by policy. People must be forced to do that so that our people can be employed.
Yeah, I mean, I got some activity here. There's a Sidin Mishi who says change of mindset is needed. The tendency to think government must and people be ready to roll up their sleeves and do the work. The cooperatives will work, and then we actually have the Eastern Cape local economic development framework, which was interpreted by the Eastern Cape Treasury in 2015 and 16. I'm sure you would have info on that one. Uti, what happened, the implementation of that particular project or policies. And then Azoti Wako now sitting, if youths are to take up agri serious, we need to ensure there is a market in terms of access and quality. E.g., if one farming yellow maize or soya then has to sell to someone who's doing milling and so on. I mean, that's quite a lot of information. Then ECDC and mill programs to schools, then money circulate in the Eastern Cape several times before leaving the province, which I think is quite interesting, that particular one, because I know a friend of mine who works here at Fresh Market Produce. Shocking, very active, nice thing that we have here. And I know that these things are digressing a little bit, but we are going to come back. But I think it's still part of the big saying. So most of the farmers there, and you were saying that most of that money, this make about plus about 500 million, this Fresh Market Produce. But most of that money leaves the province because the farmers that are there, they come from your Free State and so on and so on. And we are selling it here in our backyard, you know. So it just shows you the value of not being able to contain the economy in the Eastern Cape in a much manner that benefits the province. I mean, a lot of people wake up there in the morning. I don't know if you've ever been there. 5 a.m. already in the morning, people are there. But most of that produce comes from outside of the province.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. But quickly on the comments, I appreciate them. Yeah. I mean, I know Prof. Mishi is very interested in the subject.
Yes.
And he's been engaging it for quite some time. And he did a lot of writing on some of the elements of economic practice. So thank you for the contribution. I mean, we'll revisit them and obviously extract some for our ongoing research work. On the economic development plan, what happened to it? We know what did not happen. So we know what did not happen. The less we talk about it, the better. But we need change. On the so much increase of number of people who are benefiting into social grant, for me it's wrong, because some grants, not the grants for people who are incapacitated, those ones they should hang on.
Sure.
Right, and child support grant, all right. The one that we're talking about, they're not right if they exist for long, unless we modify the South African approach to countries like Finland and Norway, as I've said, because an intervention for someone who's unemployed, if you're doing something else right, they should drive themselves into non-existence. So we're sitting at above 18 million grant recipients in South Africa today.
For sure.
There were 3.5 million in 1996. More than 50 million increase.
And they are much more than the working people of the country.
Yes, they are. That's why I was saying earlier, the people are working are not more than 16 million people are working in this country. Above money granted is by 18 million.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all money from government. That's why I was saying earlier, we need to think creatively around it.
Yeah.
And say, this money must not just go to you and do as you please. This money, let's have conditionalities
that come
people
with
can
it.
work with it. Because the one of the reason I support it, because I do see and understand the fiscals and the economic multiplier that come out of this. I mean, people are happier when they get this money. So we generally have got a happier citizenry, and that's a good thing.
And you speak about crime, less crime, and all of those things. Once, I mean, those things. It's difficult to quantify that. That will be one of the benefits.
What? That there will be less crime?
Yeah.
Sometimes other things they don't need to be quantified. Come on. If they've got something to do, they've got money. They think less of doing wrong. Remember. Exactly. Other people, remember, they don't do it because for fun. They are survivalists. You know what I'm saying? So, as you would know, that poverty and morality, or what is this, rationality, they don't coexist. You don't think straight when you're hungry. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe, I might not put it in numbers, that with more money or more people have got something to do gainful, there will be less crime.
Yeah.
Sure.
Look, I mean, I don't think that, that I think that debate, I mean, is something that would still remain for quite some time. Okay. The qualifying of what you are saying versus, because I mean, now I want to go maybe differently to the issue of the youth that is unemployed, and if you've seen, I mean, the lines with the 350, just 350. Sure. For me, it's not a true reflection of the people that we have who are graduates who are not working currently. I think, I mean, if I look at, you go to a queue at Cambridge and see the people, the beneficiaries, it don't look like more for me the work seekers that we're talking about. Most of the time I've seen these queues. You see those people, for me, it looks like it's people who are actually have given up, or mahlalela basically. But the lines, where do we draw those lines? In this B.I.G, how do we draw the lines?
So to respond to this question, we're now relying on what you've looked at. Looks can be deceiving.
Yeah.
So, but mna ayinamsebenzi baphaya bayidinga le mali, and I don't think there are chance takers, obviously, but imali mayifunyanwe ngumuntu oyidingayo and i-criteria be clear. So, and there are old people abakhona, for sure, very old people abaqueuisha phaya. They'll be tired, no food, they've been queuing there since midnight. Because class lalati now, they go there and queue so that so that is a apply. I mean, I've seen some, coming from Butterworth to Komga post office, to queue there for that money. And already, I mean, that 250, I mean, if you look at the transportation, guys coming, there's taxis taking people from Butterworth to Komga. It just shows you how crazy the situation is. And of course, I mean, this does not go outside of the empathy and sort of the sympathy that we have for the people of the country. But again, for me, the stretch in terms of really bringing in the end, like you were saying, that this cannot go on for long. The stressing of how do we make sure that this economy really is revived. This is a relief. Now we need to get to the revival of the economy. Beyond this, how do we do that? Sure, that's a good one, and that is where we need to start thinking, by the way. And I think we must get to a point where, as the province, we can formulate our own position on this. I had a conversation with some very senior officials from government recently around this matter, and it pushed me to a point of wanting to put together some proposition, obviously informed by facts, on what I think can be conceptualized going forward. I mean, like we said earlier, the province has got above 1.5 million unemployed people, give or take, and others are employed for various reasons. And you then, based on that, you calculate money that is going to be paid to these people for the next 12 months, as you know, and you know how much money is going to be going to people. And in now thinking creatively on getting it, having sustainable solutions to it, part of what I'm putting on the table is that can we not quantify this money and then speak to business communities or business sector or business chamber, whatever it is, on the businesses that want expansionary budget, for lack of a better word. But when in your company you say, if you're can you warehouse, because I've got a lot of requests and a lot of orders I don't have to store, but I'm just 10 million short to build that warehouse. And that warehouse, I'm going to be employing 20 people on full-time basis. So if I'm using that example and many other examples about businesses that they use, we then look for businesses that want to expand, which would potentially create more employment. And we redirect that money from being a B.I.G to be a stimulus, if you like, a business stimulus or an expansionary budget for such businesses, which they will sign down, and they give a guarantee that we will definitely be employing 50 people in the next 6 months as soon as this has been expanded. These people are not going to get 350, but they're going to get a salary out of this. A salary cannot be less than 6,000, for an example, per month, rather than 350. So that example and many other examples, because I know there are a lot of businesses that apply at ITC and all these business funding institutions and banks for them to expand their businesses, then they take out employment. Why are we not redirecting this much? So it could be a conversation we can have as the province. We gather a roundtable panel of experts, researchers, economists, and then we have a paper to submit to our Premier and say, Premier, our position as a province on the B.I.G, it looked like this. And there would be people willing to be employed, obviously, rather than getting.
I think I like that, because now you are giving a solution that we could be having in the same budget, but break it down. If the budget is 50 million, for an example, we can then, out of the 50 million, use 30 for grants in the meantime, and then 20 be used for business stimulus, so that the two can meet on the other end, but because the more this one becomes successful, it means that the more you actually need the money for this one in terms of grant. I mean, I think so. ECSECC, I mean, you guys have been doing this and making this research and putting it out there. How far and do you think the appetite is there for actually, even the Eastern Cape, as it were, to begin to move with speed in making our economy agile and begin to move and meet the needs of the people, as it were, so that, we can find our ways? I mean, gradually everyone is looking at COVID now, and the sun seems to be coming up a little bit. We are coming out of this dark tunnel, but the more we come out of the dark tunnel, people want, they are expectant of a much more brighter future. So do you think that there is appetite in terms of the government and private business to actually meet the needs of the province, as it were?
Around the B.I.G?
No, not just around the B.I.G. In terms of what, because I know you are not only working on the B.I.G as well, but you are much more you're multi-pronged, if you like.
Well, there's a lot of work that is taking place, and if you understand the ECSECC work very well, it's more an enabling institution to a lot of work to take place, and being instrumental to some lot of amazing work, planning work, strategic planning work for the province, to enable the work of the province to run as smooth as possible. So some of part of your question cannot be answered by me, but if you ask for my general judgment of the environment, I think we need to push more and do all these unorthodox economics models that we need to go about. We need to change the strategy so that we can change the game. Because, like I was saying, if we use unemployment as an indicator of our progress, the progress is not good. It's not good looking. So I think we need to raise very tough questions that we ourselves don't even have answers to. We need to raise very serious ideas that are even beyond many people's comprehension. And it is in so doing that changes, we can start to see smaller changes. Like I said, without discouraging inter-provincial trade, let's say these are not going to be taken outside, and let's rally behind that. But to get to that stage, it needs a lot of policy support, regulation support, and most of the things they are done at a national level. But again, I am comforted by what I've observed our government doing during COVID. If you remember the state of national disaster, and the president will make an announcement on a Sunday. On Tuesday, that has already been gazetted. It's a law. The government said, no, by 59 million. And even food is of the police and so I need to support all that. And it happened. No one was moving. As if that was enough. Okay, between Suya when your province. And what I've learned from that is that this government can. If a policy can be drafted and be gazetted here and now, and it regulates everyone, we can. Social Solidarity Fund was opened and 2 billion was pumped into it, and most other money was there. We can. So we don't need to lose hope. I mean, we still need to get, great thinkers to advise us and do a lot of planning. But all I'm driving towards is that we need to do away with orthodox ways of doing business. I mean, we can't rely on other provinces to feed us, to dress us in the stuff that we wear, and we make people lose the importance of having their own economies in their own space. I mean, igadi, of the difference between Ndzima and a farmer is just that the other one is fenced. For me, it's the one and the same. Abantu sees no value.
In fact,
why are we not getting to a point where we highlight the importance of igadi? And if we can give an economic value of that, people will start to jump into it. They don't see it in work. They're okay with what SPA has assembled for them as fruit and veg. They take that and go. Yet you can do these things yourselves. So until we highlight the importance ye gadi, hey, see quantify nansi value ya le gadi yakho, nansi value ya le nsimi yakho. Unga funuba ne farmer, because the farmer in a irrigation system, the grass is always greener because there's a lot of water pumped into it. Ufuni farmer more than insane. So I think the understanding of how to be, the survival instincts that are being given to our people, they need some work on.
Wow, we're running one.
I think it's more about revival because, like for example, we had by Grace, we had a big plot.
Okay.
You from garlic to your onion to your cabbage to everything. That's the culture that we had then. I think I feel it's more about revival because we grew up in that background. Mostly Abantu grew up in that background, but somehow we got lost in translation because of the changing times.
Because of the changing. But I get you. It's okay.
Yeah,
but
because unyani see some confusion along the way. Because some of us were privileged enough, but to experience the other part of farming and ulima. But we need to revive that spirit.
Yes.
Start from there. We just need to revive that.
Do you know how to revive it? Yeah. How the way for you to revive it, you must incentivize any act that someone does.
Yeah, sure.
Uba ayinangeniso, umuntu akasoza ingene.
Unfortunately.
Uba nonikwa imali ndiye on what Spa is suggesting for me, I take that and go, I'm good. Until we discourage that behavior, people are gonna see value in the things that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like get them to that state. And we need to push them. So I think our thinking in Ndzwana neziphathamandla is not as it drive lomsebenzi going forward.
Yeah. Look, we've run out of time, Ndzwana, and I realize that this is a topic that actually can be amplified a little bit more. Fortunately, now we can, always, touch base. Nozulu uyaqhuba ngapha, Sydney, Osi, Zondani, so there's quite a lot of comments coming in, speaking on the subject. So I think, this subject is really a hot subject. Maybe we'll arrange some other time, spread it a little bit as well. Look at the other economic sort of aspects of this particular subject. Yeah. So otherwise, in the meantime, thank you, man, for coming. And we hope that, all the work that you guys do as ECSECC and that you do personally, will lead into something that really becomes better for our people. We really need to work. I think part of the drive that needs to happen is really that our people need to be educated in Doba. We need to move away from some of these dependencies, because even Indo, we don't want people to be dependent on it. We want them to see it as a stopgap for now, but that people must continue to look for jobs and so on. So thank you, Ndzwana, for coming. And Zwanga, for being the video man. You are going to take pictures now. Yes. So we need to take pictures.
Thank you to you and the team for engaging. Time went very fast.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
And thanks to the ECSECC team and that always puts together the webinars. We'd encourage everyone, including yourselves, to attend the ECSECC webinars. You can
send me
Facebook
Facebook. So send me something now.
Sure.
You must go into this.
Thanks a lot. Much appreciated.
No, thanks. Born to Lead is next, but I guess six he's here already. But I guess upside down.